Hi, this is Liam, your narrator here at Home Studio Stories. I just want to say thank you to all of you that are commenting, liking, subscribing, sharing, and of course, listening to the stories. If you have a story you want to send in, please do to homestudiohorror@gmail.com. Alright, let's get into the stories. In the somber town of Shadowfall, where the sun's rays rarely pierced the perpetual gloom, a young girl named Alara sought solace in the world of video games. Her days were spent with her handheld console, her fingers dancing across the buttons, her eyes glued to the pixelated screen. The games provided an escape from the dreary reality that enveloped her life. One fateful evening, as Alara wandered the town's twisted streets, she encountered a mysterious stranger, his cloak as dark as the shadows that clung to the cobblestones. His eyes, like twin pools of ink, seemed to bore into her very soul. "Child," he murmured, his voice a raspy whisper that sent a shiver down Alara's spine. "I see you're a lover of games. I have one that you might find intriguing." From within the folds of his cloak, the stranger produced a peculiar handheld console, its black casing adorned with crimson runes that seemed to pulse with a sinister energy. Alara, her curiosity piqued, hesitantly accepted the device. "Remember," the stranger intoned as he disappeared into the darkness, his final words lingering like a cold breath on her neck. "The game you are about to play is not for the faint of heart." At home, Alara powered on the console, the screen flickering to life with an eerie glow. The game was unlike any she had ever played, its twisted landscapes and grotesque creatures transporting her into a nightmarish realm where the very air seemed to hum with malevolence. As she delved deeper into the game, Alara found herself inexorably drawn into its dark embrace, the line between the virtual world and reality beginning to blur. She soon realized that she was no longer just playing the game, she was living it, her very existence hanging in the balance as she battled the demonic forces that sought to consume her. "Help me!" Alara cried out, her voice trembling with fear as she confronted a monstrous creature, its form a writhing mass of shadow and despair. "I don't want to die!" But the game showed no mercy, its demonic denizens relentless in their pursuit. As Alara fought for her life, the psychological torment of her plight began to take its toll, her once strong spirit crumbling under the weight of the darkness that threatened to engulf her. Desperate to escape the nightmarish world she'd become trapped in, Alara sought the help of the game's enigmatic protagonist, a spectral figure whose face was hidden behind a tattered shroud. "Please," she whispered, her eyes brimming with tears. "Can you help me find a way out of this terrible place?" The figure, its voice like the rustling of dead leaves, agreed to aid her in her quest, warning her of the terrible price she would have to pay for her freedom. As they journeyed through the twisted landscapes, battling unspeakable horrors and solving fiendish puzzles, Alara began to unravel the dark truth that lay at the heart of the game. Her life was not the only one at stake. The souls of countless others ensnared by the console's demonic curse were trapped within the game, their suffering fueling the nightmare that had become her reality. Together, Alara and the spectral figure confronted the game's final boss, a gargantuan demon whose malevolent presence seemed to drain the very light from the air. The battle that ensued was one of both physical and psychological torment, the demon's taunts and the screams of its trapped souls echoing through the chambers. "Give up, child," the demon sneered, its voice a symphony of agony. "Your soul will make a fine addition to my collection." But Alara refused to surrender, her resolve hardened by the suffering of those who had come before her. With the spectral figure by her side, she fought back against the demon, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. "You will not claim any more lives," Alara screamed, her voice resolute as she unleashed a powerful attack that tore through the demon's flesh. The demon howled in pain and rage, its monstrous form beginning to disintegrate as the souls it had trapped were released from its dark grasp. As the final blow was struck, the chamber trembled, the walls of the nightmarish world beginning to crumble around Elara and the spectral figure. "Go now!" the figure whispered, its shrouded face finally revealed as the soul of a young girl, not unlike Elara herself. "You have freed us all!" Within a final embrace, Elara and the girl were transported back to the world of the living, the console screen flickering and dying as the nightmare realm it had created was forever banished. Elara, her heart heavy with the weight of the ordeal, returned the console to the mysterious stranger, her eyes ablaze with newfound strength. "You won't ensnare anyone else," she declared, her voice steady and strong. "I have freed the souls you sought to torment, and I will not rest until your wicked games are destroyed." The stranger, his eyes wide with surprise and fear, vanished into the shadows. The console's dark power forever broken by Elara's courage and resilience. The young girl's life would never be the same. The memories of her harrowing experience etched into her heart like the crimson runes that had adorned the cursed console. But in the face of unspeakable horror and psychological torment, Elara had triumphed, her spirit forged stronger by the darkness she had conquered. And though the shadows of her past would always linger, Elara knew that the light of her soul would forever burn bright, a beacon of hope and courage in the face of the nightmarish world that lay just beyond the veil of reality. In the hamlet of Gloomshire, under skies laden with iron-grey clouds, twin sisters Elara and Lysandra lived in their ancestral home, Blackthorn Manor. This brooding edifice, veined with ivy and enshrouded by ancient oaks, hid a secret whispered only by the shadows of its time-worn walls. The sisters shared a telepathic bond, a gift bestowed on them by the ethereal strands of fate. This connection, which allowed them to converse without words and feel each other's pain and joy, had been their solace in a world that had never understood them. But one storm-ravaged night, as thunder roared and lightning illuminated the manor's dark corners, their bond would be corrupted by a sinister force that would plunge them into the depths of madness. It began with a whisper, a nefarious echo that slithered through the recesses of their minds, tainting their thoughts and clouding their connection. Elara, her ebony locks cascading over her porcelain features, turned to Lysandra with wide, terrified eyes. "Do you hear it, sister?" she murmured, her voice trembling with fear. Lysandra, her twin, in all but the pallor of her alabaster skin, nodded. "Yes. It's like a serpent hissing in the shadows of our minds." As the days turned to weeks, the demonic presence grew stronger, leeching into their souls and warping their once pure bond. Soon, the sisters could no longer distinguish their own thoughts from the malevolent whispers that tormented them. In the darkness of their shared dreams, a figure emerged, a twisted, grotesque entity with eyes like burning embers and a voice like the grinding of bones. It called itself Azazel, the whisperer in the void, and it had come to claim their bond as its own. "I have tasted the sweetness of your connection," it hissed, 1,000 voices merging into one. "And now I will feast upon it until you are both consumed by the darkness within." The sisters, their once illustrious minds now tangled mazes of horror and despair, resolved to confront the demon that had ensnared them. They sought the help of a local mystic, a withered crone who was said to possess knowledge of the arcane arts. "Please," Lysandra begged, her voice a ghostly echo of its former self. "Can you help us expel this creature that has invaded our minds?" The mystic, Her eyes clouded with age and wisdom considered their plight. "I can attempt to sever the bond between you," she said, her voice a brittle whisper, "but the demon may not be so easily vanquished." As the mystic prepared her ritual, Elara and Lysandra clung to each other, their once golden souls now tarnished by the darkness that had enveloped them. They knew that to sever their bond was to lose a part of themselves, but the alternative was too terrible to contemplate. The ritual was a cacophony of ancient incantations and eldritch symbols, a desperate attempt to dispel the demon that had claimed the twins' connection. As the final words were spoken, the sisters felt a searing pain, as if their very souls were being torn asunder. The bond was broken, and in its place, an abyssal void yawned, swallowing the remnants of their connection. Azazel, the whisperer in the void, had been vanquished, but at a terrible cost. No longer united by their telepathic bond, the sisters found themselves adrift in a sea of isolation and despair. The love they once shared, now severed, left them haunted by the echoes of a connection they could never regain. The demon's presence lingered in the air, a shadow of malevolence that refused to be entirely banished. As the years passed, Elara and Lysandra drifted apart, their lives becoming separate portraits of melancholy. Blackthorn Manor, once their sanctuary, now served as a constant reminder of the bond they lost. The darkness that had consumed their souls left a chasm between them, one that neither sister could bridge. Rumours spread through Gloomshire like an insidious fog, the villagers speaking in hushed tones of the cursed twins and the demon that had torn them apart. Some claimed that on moonless nights they could hear the sisters weeping for each other, their cries echoing through the desolate halls of Blackthorn Manor. The sisters lived out their days, shrouded in the tattered remnants of their bond and the shadow of Azazel's malevolence. Their once vibrant spirits were now twisted and broken, leaving them ghosts of their former selves. But in the darkest corners of their souls, a flicker of hope remained, a whispered prayer that one day their love would triumph over the darkness and reunite them. And so, Elara and Lysandra clung to this fragile hope, like a candle in the all-consuming void, a solitary beacon in the face of the eternal night. The legend of the telepathic twins and the demonic force that had shattered their bond would forever haunt the annals of Gloomshire's history. Their tragic tale served as a cautionary reminder of the perils that lurked beyond the veil of the known world, a testament to the relentless power of darkness and the fragile resilience of the human spirit. As the years turned into centuries and the memory of the sisters faded like a dying ember, the echo of their love remained, forever entwined with the shadows of Blackthorn Manor. And though the demon had succeeded in breaking their bond, the hope that fueled their hearts would never be entirely extinguished, a silent testament to the eternal power of love, even in the face of unspeakable horror. Amidst the overgrown foliage of Wraithwood, a village shrouded in perpetual twilight, the Blackthorn family took up residence in their newly acquired abode. The house, a Gothic relic of a bygone era, bore the weight of its own sorrow, its secrets concealed behind a facade of decaying grandeur. Within these sombre walls, the family discovered a curious artifact, a dusty antique armoire, its gnarled wood and intricate carvings imbued with a sinister aura. It stood proudly in the corner of the youngest daughter's bedroom, a sentinel of darkness guarding a realm beyond mortal comprehension. As night descended upon the house like a velvet shroud, the armoire's doors creaked open, revealing an abyss of impenetrable shadows. From this portal, malevolent spirits emerged, their twisted visages and tortured whispers seeping into the dreams of the slumbering family. The youngest daughter, Amelia, was the first to succumb to the spirit's torment, her once sweet dreams now haunted by nightmarish visions. She confided in her older brother Edmund. "I can hear them," she whispered, her eyes wide with terror. "They come from the armoire, Edmund. They want to take me with them." Edmund, his brow furrowed with concern, resolved to uncover the truth behind the cursed piece of furniture. As the family slept, he kept vigil beside the armoire, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. In the dead of the night, as the armoire's doors opened with a guttural groan, Edmund beheld the spirits that had plagued his sister's dreams. A cacophony of wails and chilling laughter filled the room, echoing within the very depths of his soul. "You cannot save her," a voice like 1,000 shattered mirrors hissed from the darkness. "We will claim her as our own." Terrified, but resolute, Edmund enlisted the help of his parents to confront the malevolent forces that threatened their family. Desperate to protect their daughter, they turned to the village's enigmatic priest, Father Malachi, for guidance. "You must face the darkness," he intoned, his eyes brimming with ancient knowledge. "Only by confronting the spirits that dwell within the armoire can you hope to banish them." Armed with the priest's words and a tenuous faith, the Blackthorn family gathered in Amelia's room, the air thick with foreboding. As the sun dipped below the horizon and the shadows grew long, they joined hands, their hearts united by love and terror. As the spirits emerged from the armoire, the family confronted them with a courage born from desperation. They called upon the forces of light, their voices blending into a chant that shook the very foundations of the house. "Begone, foul spirits!" Amelia cried, her voice trembling but resolute. "You have no power here!" To their amazement, the spirits recoiled, the unearthly howls and laughter replaced by anguished screams. The darkness within the armoire began to dissipate, the portal to the otherworldly realm slowly closing. As the last vestiges of shadow vanished, the armoire's doors slammed shut, sealing the spirits within their own dark domain. The Blackthorn family, their ordeal finally at an end, embraced one another, tears of relief streaming down their faces. As Amelia grew older, she often found herself drawn to the armoire, her memories of the spirits that had once threatened her family lingering like ghostly apparitions in her mind. She would run her fingers over the intricate carvings, the wood beneath her touch as cold as a winter's night, and wonder at the world that lay hidden within. But the armoire's doors remained firmly closed, the darkness it had once held now locked away in the depths of the unknown. The Blackthorn family had triumphed over the spirits, and the armoire, once a portal to a realm of darkness and despair, was now a symbol of their victory. In time, the tale of the Blackthorn family and the armoire that had once terrorized them became a legend, passed down through generations like a macabre lullaby. And as the years slipped by, like sand through the hourglass, the armoire stood sentinel in the corner of Amelia's room, its secrets forever sealed within the cold embrace of its wooden heart. On a moonless, overcast night, as the velvet darkness draped itself over the sleepy town of Anvil, the sound of a lone flute echoed, haunting the air. The source of the music, a small abandoned church, stood in the shadows of the nearby forest, shrouded in mystery. Within the church, a young man named Gregory sat on the steps of the altar, playing his flute with a fervent passion. His hollow eyes held a longing that whispered of lost dreams and unspoken desires. As the last melancholy note faded away, a voice like honeyed silk slithered into his ears. "Beautiful," it sighed, sending shivers down his spine. Gregory turned to find a plain-looking girl leaning against a crumbling wall. Her unassuming brown eyes, mousy hair, and unremarkable features belied the allure she held over him. "Who are you?" Gregory breathed, mesmerized by her presence. "Lilith," she replied with a coy smile, her voice ensnaring him. Over the following weeks, Gregory found himself inexorably drawn to Lilith. The two spent hours together in the abandoned church, discussing their fears, dreams, and the darkness that seemed to envelope both their lives. In Lilith, Gregory found solace and understanding. In Gregory, Lilith found a willing confidant. One fateful evening, as the shadows of the church grew longer, Gregory finally confessed his love for Lilith. Her response was a dark, mirthless laugh that reverberated through the empty hall. "Oh, my dear Gregory," she cooed, "do you truly believe that love can exist between us?" "I don't understand," he stammered, his heart aching. "You are blind, Gregory," Lilith whispered, her eyes now burning with an unnatural crimson glow. "I am no simple girl, but a succubus, feasting on your soul." Gregory reeled at the revelation, his heart shattering into thousands of shards. He saw the truth of her words. His once vibrant reflection had grown gaunt, his eyes hollow and lifeless. "Why me?" he choked out. "Because your sadness and longing called out to me," she replied, her voice now a cacophony of tortured screams. "Your heart was a feast I could not resist." Desperate, Gregory pleaded with Lilith. "Please, take it all. I want nothing more than to be with you." "You fool," she hissed. "I will drain you until there is nothing left." In the days that followed, Gregory's mind became a maelstrom of darkness, consumed by his love for Lilith and the horror of his fate. As his life force ebbed, he could not tear himself away from the succubus who ensnared him. One stormy night, as thunder shook the church, Gregory confronted Lilith with the last vestiges of his strength. "Please, spare me, I beg you," he cried, his voice barely a whisper. "I cannot," she replied, her voice a somber dirge. "You have sealed your fate by loving me." In that moment, Gregory's heart broke, and the church's stained glass shattered in a cacophony of despair. He fell to the floor, his body racked with sobs. "Forgive me," he murmured, as the darkness closed in. Lilith looked down at him, her eyes flickering with a spark of remorse. She whispered words that were lost in the howling wind, and then she was gone, leaving Gregory to face the storm alone. In the years that followed, the legend of the tragic love between a young man and a succubus haunted Anvil, whispered in hushed tones from one generation to the next. The abandoned church became a pilgrimage site for the broken-hearted and lovelorn, seeking solace in the tale of forbidden love. Gregory, forever changed by his encounter with Lilith, never again played his flute. The beautiful, mournful music that had once filled the church now haunted only his dreams. The townspeople noticed his transformation, how the light in his eyes had been replaced by a never-ending darkness. As time passed, Gregory became a recluse, his soul tethered to the memory of the succubus who had captured his heart. He spent his days in solitude, his mind a tortured labyrinth of love and loss. Each night he returned to the church, hoping to catch a glimpse of Lilith or hear her haunting voice once more. But she never came. The townspeople, fearing for his sanity, tried to intervene, but Gregory was beyond their reach, his soul intertwined with the supernatural. On the anniversary of that fateful night that had bound him to the succubus, Gregory could bear his torment no longer. Under the shroud of darkness, he ventured into the forest, his despair a palpable presence in the air. As he wandered deeper into the woods, his heart heavy with the weight of his sorrow, he finally came upon a clearing where a single gnarled tree stood. its twisted branches reaching out like the arms of the damned. Gregory made his decision, the last act of a man bound by love to a creature that devoured his very essence. He fashioned a noose from the frayed rope he had brought with him and climbed the tree, his trembling hands securing the knot. As he stepped off the branch and felt the life ebbing from him, a mournful flute echoed through the forest, its haunting melody the last thing Gregory heard before the darkness consumed him. The tragedy of Gregory's death only deepened the legend of the doomed love between a young man and the succubus who had stolen his heart. Lilith, her true nature revealed, was forever etched into the town's collective memory as a symbol of love's darkest side. Yet, as the years passed and the legend grew, there were whispers of a new tale. Some claimed that on stormy nights, a ghostly figure could be seen wandering the forest, his hollow eyes filled with eternal longing, and if one listened closely, the mournful notes of a flute could be heard, forever searching for the love that had led to ruin.